God. Okay, here we go. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Facebook Live. I'm Laura Hunter from Drop the Leash Dog Training, and this is Celeste Gagnon, who teaches classes with me. And Celeste and I are here today to talk about games-based training in general and our new online program specifically. So if you have any questions about games-based training, please put them in the comments. Celeste might see them and we can answer some today. Not specifics, but general questions, or I will get to them after the live. So we're going to do a question and answer format because we get lots of questions about this. And Celeste, you're going to go ahead and throw the first question at me.
Yeah, well, the first one would be, what is games-based training?
Well, that's a good one. That's an easy one. Okay, it's exactly as it sounds. We teach our dogs behaviors and skills that we want them to learn by playing simple 2-minute games with them. And that's as complicated as it gets. Excuse me, somebody is ringing my phone. Sorry. Yep, easy peasy.
So, Laura, sorry.
Next question, Celeste.
I'm actually going to get you to repeat that only because the phone buzzing was taking over the sound. And I want to make sure everybody got it.
Okay. And we're having some, and we are having some technical problems here with our internet today anyway. So it might be a bit rough today. Sorry, everybody. So anyway, games-based training is exactly as it sounds. We teach dogs behaviors and skills, all the skills and behaviors that we want by playing simple 2-minute games with them. It's fun, it's simple, it's 2 minutes.
And does it work?
Absolutely. You know, when people call me up and I say, well, we do games-based training here, I really want to explain more to them, but I immediately hear from them, well, I really want obedience training for my dog. I want my dog to listen to me and obey commands. So we're going to talk a little bit today how that's different. But yes, it totally works. And we know that because we have put a lot of people through our games programs, and I have never had feedback that it didn't work. Most people are very, very happy to discover a new way of training, and they're finding it effective. And certainly, we know personally it works because between us, we have 5 dogs, and they all grew up in the games program, right?
Mm-hmm. So why do you think that games-based training works better than traditional obedience?
Well, first of all, it is science-based training. It is science-based positive reinforcement training. So, you know, I'm always worried people are going to think it's a little bit fluffy or woo-woo, but no, we incorporate all the science-based principles for training into the program. But what we've done is we've just taken those principles and reframe them into those 2-minute games. You know, science is science. You know, any good trainer out there is not going to try and change science or, rebuild it or redo it. But we certainly can present that science creatively, and it is a bit of a creative program for sure. Definitely something new for most people. So why do I think it is more effective than traditional obedience? And I'm not knocking traditional obedience because I have clients in my program who are very invested in traditional obedience. But for most pet owners, they see results faster than they do in the traditional programs. You know, when I went through my training academy, the mechanical training part of the portion of the program was very traditional. And, you know, you had to develop a training plan and train in repetitions and learn when to move forward, when to move backwards. You had to draw up training plans. I learned a lot, but I couldn't help thinking, is this what my students are going to want to do when I start teaching? Is this how they want to work with their dogs? And I don't think so. Most dog owners don't want to be dog trainers. They just want results as quickly and easily as they can. You know, even me, I'm a training nerd and I love working with my dogs. But, you know, I took the first few dogs to traditional obedience and I never practiced because I just couldn't get into it. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely more fun for you and your dog. And because it's more fun, you're going to play more often because it is play. You know, we want people to really understand this is not about you training your dog just throwing cookies. This is about play with your dog. And you're also going to play in more situations because it's so easy just to take your dog out on a walk, and while you're walking along, just play one of the games. So what happens is your dog learns everywhere. And that's always a big sticker. You know, everybody says to me, you know, people say, well, my dogs are really great at home. I practice all those skills that we learned in class, and they're really good in obedience class, but they can't listen to me out in the world. So because our stuff is so simple, you can take it out in the world really easily. And what you're going to end up with is a dog that pays attention to you everywhere. Mm-hmm. And the third point is that we've developed it so playing games with your dog, doing simple activities is much less frustrating than training. So the games are simple and easy. It's hard to fail at them. And so what we're doing is we're building success in instead of trial and error or failure. So when you and your dog can be successful most of the time, it creates a great relationship, and it certainly creates great value for you. You are offering them fun because all of the activities are intrinsically motivating for the dogs. You're giving them focus, and focus from us is always reinforcing for your dog, and food, you know, and we do use a lot of food. So that's a lot of very powerful reinforcement for your dog. Yeah. So,
it's nice because it's so organic too. It's not, you don't have to follow a schedule and step by step. It's so much more natural to do it this way.
Yeah, it's hard to mess up a game, the way we create them, and you can even change them. You know, I remember that it was so specific, you know, the training that I used to do with my dogs, and, you know, we were always worried about making a mistake. You can't really make a mistake, even if you change things up a little bit. It's not gonna ruin it. You're right. No. It is organic. I never thought of that, using that word, because that's me, but it is. And I now find that I combine games and I play them differently and I use them in different ways, and it still works. It still works. We want it to be easy for people. We want training, hanging out with your dog and having playing, you know, working or training or whatever you're teaching or whatever you want to call it should be fun. You know,
yeah.
You know, you and I spend a lot of time doing it. We almost do it unconsciously. I'm sure we do it in our sleep because it's just become a way of life for us because it's so easy and it is fun.
Yeah, I agree. So what is choice-based training?
Well, you know what? It's very much the same as games-based training. It is incorporated. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that because there's lots of people out there doing choice-based training. They're doing it differently than we are, which is great. You know, there is no right or wrong. Like I said, as long as it's science-based, there is no right or wrong. But we incorporate it into all of the games. And what we do is it's dogs learning to make choices and offer you behaviors, hopefully and specifically the ones that you actually want them to offer you. So what we do is instead of teaching our dogs physical or verbal cues that they're supposed to respond to, you know, a lot of people call them commands, and instead of correcting them when they don't follow up on those, what we do is we set up the environment in such a way that the dog offers us the behavior that they want. And I know that sounds complicated. People are going, oh, how do I set up my environment? What do I do? I'll give you a couple of examples so that you can see how easy it is. So number one, orientation game, our favorite game on the planet. You know, you start with one piece of kibble, you throw it out, the dog eats the kibble, and then chances are that dog's going to turn back to you to see if you're going to throw another one, or back to you to see what you're doing at the time. And so in the moment the dog turns its head back to you, you mark it, you throw another piece of kibble. So if you keep playing that game, your dog gets into the habit of always turning back to you. It's lots of value for turning back to you, and it becomes a habit. So from that one little piece of kibble you've thrown in your house, you've already started your dog on the way to a recall. Because if you can get a head turn on a recall, most people don't call their dogs when they're running back towards them. You want to call your dog when they're running off into the sunset. So you need that head turn. So there's that concept right there with that one little piece of kibble. They got a head turn. They check in with you on walks. And that is the game that has taught all of our dogs, well, certainly my dogs and a lot of dogs in the program, to stay with us off leash, which is really... that's a real fantasy for a lot of people, a dog that stays with them off leash. But from that one little piece of kibble and setting a dog up just to go out there, get it, and turn back to you, look at all the great stuff you're going to get out of it eventually. Another example would be eye contact. And the way we start eye contact here is you drop a piece of kibble on the floor in front of you and your dog eats it and they look at you as if, hey, where's my next piece of kibble? Well, there's your eye contact right there. So you can start to build that very gradually. Why is eye contact, that 2 seconds of eye contact, so important? Because it's the beginning of teaching your dog to disengage from distractions out in the world and turn back to you and just check in with you. So concrete real world example of that was earlier in the week. I was out in the forest with Annie and Rosie, and we've got a lot of grass out there right now. And practically stepped on one, and the thing, poor little thing, it was terrifying. It went like, and it didn't even fly up. It just like kind of hovered down the trail. And, I stood there and I thought, wow, that was pretty right under their feet. And they stood there and they looked at it for a second, and then they looked right back at me, gave me eye contact. And I know in their heads, they were saying, hi, here we're checking in. You got the cheese tube? And I go, absolutely, I got the cheese tube for that. But, for most people, that's gold. To have a dog who chooses to look back at you and give you that moment of communication in which you can say, yeah, go chase the bird, or sorry, here, I can offer you something else because we can't go chase the bird today. There are many ways to work on eye contact, but, I see a lot of people coming into class and they say, well, yes, my dog knows, look at me. And I say, well, you can show me. And I'm not being critical. This is what, people have learned in classes. And so they look at their dog and they're going, look at me, look at me, look at me. I went to a program years ago, look at me. And then we were supposed to spit hot dogs out of our mouth at the dog. I refused to spit hot dogs out of my mouth at my dog at the time. It was a Malamute. I thought that was less than dignified. But anyway, first of all, if eye contact is a really personal thing. If somebody stood in front of me and said, I'm going to have a conversation, but look at me, I'd be gone because I have social issues. And then secondly, I always say to people, if you get your dog to do the look at me, and your dog doesn't look at you, what's your recourse on that?
What are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do? The dog's like, I don't think I'm going to look at you, and you're done. You're done, So why is choice so important? Shouldn't my dog just do all of those look at me's and sit and stay, all those things that we tell them to, I tell them to do all the time. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question, Celeste. This is instead of just pontificating here. So in your general day with your dogs, how many times do you have to say to them, sit down, stay, sit down, stay? Like, how often do you ever have to tell your dogs what to do?
I don't really that often.
No.
Nope. I'll say, go to your crate if there's a delivery truck, but otherwise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
No, I have somebody who stares at me 100% of the time.
I know.
Anyway.
I know. It's kind of almost, I know I have mine do the same thing. It's almost creepy, isn't it? People go, oh, look, your dogs are looking at you all the time. That's wonderful. And I go, no.
And you know what? And Laura, I did it without ever spitting hot dog at them.
I wonder what they do if you spit a hot dog at them.
Oh my God, they probably love it. It's like a human Pez dispenser.
I know, I know. But, like, I feel the same way about my dogs. We go out in the fields. I'm not saying anything to them. We go through a gate, they turn around and look at me.
Yeah.
You don't have to say wait. I don't have to say wait before we go through the gate. They know that when we get to the driveway here, because as we come up the driveway, we're close to the road. They just naturally fall in beside me. They don't go wandering off. So context, dogs learn contextually. If you set up things to happen in certain environments, then they are going to continue, and you reinforce them and you build value for them. Those things are going to continue to happen in those environments. I always thought the coolest thing was teaching a dog to heel. But I never wanted to get into training it because I watched a few programs on teaching your dog to heel, and how much work you had to do. And it just seemed, and we have a game that Magic Hand, which we play. And I used to play that just to get them, in beside me, and didn't have to say anything. Now they just see my hand come up. They don't even have to see my hand come up anymore. If they see my hand come up, they're right there beside me. And again, because we've done it so often in the driveway, I don't have to put my hand out anymore. That the whole context of just coming up the driveway is their cue. So it's really is lovely to go through the days with dogs that just, they almost seem intuitive, that they know what we want in certain situations, but it's not intuitive. We've just set up the environment to cue them. One last example would be Rosie in the bed, because you've seen her up in the arena. Rosie goes into the arena and the first thing she does is look for a bed. And then lately, instead of going into the tunnel, a few times she actually just ran off and lay down on her bed midway through the course, because she caught the bed out of the side of her eye and went, oh my God, there's my bed. I'm going to go lie down on my bed, which is not a great thing for agility, but it's kind of cute. It shows you how much value she has for it. And so she just always chooses it. So, the big thing too is that I always tell people this, is that, because a lot of people call us, or you've heard them talk in class, is I want to train my dog to walk beside me. I want to train my dog to do a recall. People call me for that one all the time. Can you train my dog to do a recall? But you can't make a dog recall if they don't want to. You can't make them walk beside you on a loose leash if they don't want to. You can't even make them stay on a mat if they don't want to, unless you're going to use some sort of physical control or some sort of aversive methods. And in physical control, you're not really teaching, you're just managing. And if you're going to use aversive methods, eventually the dog might do it, and they might even do it fairly quickly, but they're probably doing it out of fear rather than because it's a choice. And so to me, that's the most aversive part, is that the choice has been taken away and they're just doing it because they're afraid, and it doesn't work. Like, I remember going to obedience classes with a big program, not in our area. They're still running out of the city. And, it was old days. You put a choke chain on your dog, and if you wanted them to walk beside you, you just pop them a little bit. They don't call it pop anymore out there, but it's the same thing. You pop them, and this is supposed to make your dog want to stay beside you. Definitely not what we want to be doing with our dogs. It's so much nicer to have a dog that chooses. And I think people are more into that nowadays. There's so much information out there now on, dog cognition and dog emotion, and people are becoming more aware of the fact that, yes, their dogs do have emotions just like we do, and they want to make their dogs happy. At least everybody we see here through our door, they want their dogs to listen to them, but they also want their dogs to be happy. So, how can you make your dog any happier than by playing games with them, because they love the games?
True. And I think if you're giving them that choice, then you're creating more of a partnership and
yes,
it's a real companionship. It's not you having like an accessory.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Actually, I know this is a really silly thing, but I notice myself, I think all of us, we actually start talking to our dogs differently when you start playing games programs. Instead of yelling no or, cut it out, sometimes I just look at my dogs and go, seriously? And they actually know what that means.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, really? Because you're right. It's more of a partnership. So I don't think any of us who are really invested in the game see ourselves as we never did see ourselves as the alpha, but we don't even necessarily see ourselves as being in charge. I don't think of myself as being in charge anymore, Really?
No, I dream of being in charge one day.
At times. But we all just kind of hang out together and everybody does what the other guy wants them to. So, I know we're sounding like a bit of a fantasy world here, but it's not really. I think it changes the dynamic.
I mean, coming from us doing agility often, and I mean, myself doing sports outside of this, it becomes more like a team effort almost. Like it's a teammate. It's not just a dog. It's not just a pet. It's your partner, your teammate, and I always see it as that. I always see it as like a team sport.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to be your dog's pack leader to get them to hang out with you. And you're right. I often feel like they are actually in the games. I actually get the impression a lot of the times that they actually think that they're playing the game with me to get me to do what they want me to do. You're right.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that sounds really silly too, but it does work both ways. It's like basically Laura's standing there with a handful of food. What do I have to do to get it out of her hand?
Yeah.
What can we play? What can I offer? Actually, there's a lot of what can I offer Laura to get the food out of her hand.
And you know what? That's the best when you start, when you're like, we're going to do something new. And you're trying to see what they'll figure out what you want, and they do everything they know all at once to try to get that treat.
Yeah. You know what? That's a good example. But you know what that example says to me, because they do that, is that if you give dogs choice and autonomy, and Ali Bender and Emily Strong call that agency, then you start to see dogs that can think for themselves and feel more confident. It certainly makes a difference in agility if you have a dog that thinks for itself. And that's why, we urge everybody to go through games before they go through agility, because it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And even for day-to-day life, you end up with the dog with more confidence. You're going to end up with a dog who's less reactive.
Yeah.
Who's able to go to a vet clinic and not freak out, who's able to do a lot of different things if they have that confidence and ability of choice. I know, Penny.
Yeah, and actually our whole reactive dog program, Walks at Work, is games.
Yeah.
We reframe them a little bit differently and we use them just a little bit differently, but really, and we've had a lot of success with leash reactivity, and people are just playing games, which is great because most owners of reactive dogs are coming from sometimes dark places and discouraged and don't have a lot of fun with their dogs because you have to go out there and deal with the world with a reactive dog. So I like using the games because it builds fun and builds the relationship back in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
Back on track.
Sorry.
We so wandered off, but that was okay.
That's okay. It happens.
Yes.
So what exactly do we teach in the program?
Okay. Oh, this is where I get to come up with my 3 C's, which is so unlike me. But when I was trying to put to organize the online games program, I really had to sit down and think about actually specifically what we do in the program. So my 3 C's are closeness, which is building the dog's desire to stay physically close to us, so that when we take our dogs off the leash, they actually stay, which is, again, gold for a lot of people. So you and I both know it doesn't matter whether dogs are on leash or off, being close to us is a good thing for them. So, you've got a dog that, isn't going to run off to explore the world, a dog that stays close to you, which gives you loose leash walking, gives you recalls, gives you off leash. And as I said, that always wanted to have my dogs be able to heel beside me, not everywhere in life, but in specific conditions. And I think that's an important thing. So first was closeness. Second is calmness, which is teaching dogs to, as much as they can, control their own arousal levels. And, that's a bit of a sticky area. Can we teach our dogs to totally relax and chill out if you've got high drive dogs? Not necessarily, but they can learn that in certain contexts that just going and being still and quiet and possibly relaxed on a boundary is a wonderful thing. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be a physical boundary, because we have, of course, our place game where you can create an invisible boundary out in the world for your dog to relax on. So that's a big one. And, we live with 5 high drive dogs. I think my dogs would be off living with somebody else if I didn't have boundary games, certainly in the house for sure. And then the third one is connection. And connection for us is all about our dogs choosing to ignore the distractions out in the world and focus on us instead. And that's everybody's big issue, I think. Certainly all of our puppy people are now, our puppies are heading into 5 and 6 months, and people are beginning to see the reality of what happens when you open the door and your puppy goes out to Disneyland. So that connection, that distraction, it certainly, what happens is, if you can build all three of those areas, everything else falls into place. Sitting down and stand and I use those in the programs, in the games to play with them, but I very rarely have to use any of those cues with my dogs in real life. So it is a different way of thinking, but I think if you don't have those 3 C's, that you're not, even if you do decide you want to go the obedience route, those foundational concepts are going to definitely get you wherever you want in life. It's certainly all we need,
Yeah.
Sure. And then, if you can build those desires to choose in your dog, it's a win-win situation for both of you, because you're not spending endless hours, teaching them to sit, teaching them to heel. And that's a great thing for us. You and I are still playing games. We'll play games with our dogs forever, because we love it and we enjoy it. But playing games and having fun with our dogs on walks is not the same as having to drill specific behaviors into them. So it's a win-win for us, because I'm not walking around all day saying, sit, sit, sit to my dogs. They're just there doing actually what I'm hoping I want them to, what they're hoping I want them to do. And for your dog, it's a winning situation too, because your dog can start to have more freedom in situations. And I'm certainly not supporting off-leash dogs everywhere, especially right now, because we know what's going on up here in the forest with off-leash dogs, and it's not a happy place for a lot of people. But there are still spaces where our dogs can be free in the world. And dogs were created to be free animals. You and I were talking about, there's a post in our local, our town bulletin board last week about dogs being off leash in the forests and running up to people and running up to children. And there were a lot of opinions out there, and a lot of people were saying, well, dogs should be free and wild. But what's that saying? With freedom comes responsibility. Yeah. I think that's it. And it's not the dog's responsibility, it's our responsibility. So, Rosie's off leash in the forest. Annie's not, because she has an arthritic knee, but otherwise she would be. But I know that I don't take them off leash in the public forest, but I know they can be off leash in our private forest behind and in our neighbor's forest because I know that I can trust them.
Mhm.
And I think the sad thing is a lot of our dogs spend their entire lives on 6-foot leashes because the owners don't know how to build that value. So, there's places your dogs can go in the world and be off leash, but people can't do it at this moment. I think in the forest, they're actually talking, I think Sally was telling me the other day, they're talking about maybe designated off-leash trails for dogs, which would be great. But you don't want your dog disappearing into the forest after a squirrel not coming back. So,
Right.
I think that it would be better for dogs if people did, spend the time and play the games or go somewhere and learn recalls. And teach their dogs value for staying with them. Games can offer dogs a better life together, I think,
Mhm.
which is a big one. Yeah.
So how does the new online program work?
Oh, well, as of today, I'm the world's greatest guy, honest to goodness. I don't know how he lives with me. So we are introducing our online games as an online program, and it's gone through a couple of changes. But we do have a new format for it that we've now settled on. So it's going to be a monthly subscription package. So each month we release 4 games that build on the games of the previous month. So the reason we did this is because we do the live program. We give people a lot of games in the 6-week program, but I think it's difficult for people to go through everything we give them in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to start talking about online programs because we've done that to death in our lives and the advantage of, having videos all the time. I'm talking about the time frame. I was originally going to put games online in 6 weeks too, but I think we just overload people.
Yeah,
So,
the pacing is different.
I'm sorry?
Your pacing is different the way you're doing it now.
Yeah, I think, I said to I said to the people who were interested, I said, I'll give you 4 games a month. You can choose to do 1 game each week and just focus on that. Or, you can intersperse the games. You can mix them up and play them. But the 4 weeks gives people a chance to get those games really solidly. And we know that people don't get tired of playing the games, that they're always happy to go out and do it. And what I'm trying to do as well is build progressions, because getting from the 1 cookie in your living room to hi, there's a squirrel there, but I'm going to look at you instead in the forest. You and I both know that there are many, many levels to go through.
Yeah.
And to me, those gradual progressions it's the key to success in this program. So we're not just going to throw out a bunch of games hodgepodge and say, here, play these games. They're really great. They'll get you this, they'll get you that. I'm looking at it, doing it more progressively and building. So, I guess it's you have to be a little bit patient as an owner, because you're not going to get to that recall in the first 2 months that I was talking about. But I don't think you're going to get there in any program in 2 months, to be honest. And so at least in our program, we're having lots of fun, and even the foundational games make a change immediately. You know that those foundational games change dogs right away.
Yeah, they do.
We're going to see a big change, and I'm hoping that big change will keep them enthused and still going through the monthly programs. But people are not locked into the monthly programs. I'm kind of depending on the fact that it's fun and we're going to keep them engaged, and they're going to see progress in their dog, so they're going to stay. So it's really, people are going to stay. That's up to me to provide a program they want to stay in. So people are free to drop out at any time. So there's going to be it's going to be 2 options in the program. It's a 2-tiered program, which is something we've never done before either. The basic level, in our basic program, you get the videos every month, and people will get access to the private Facebook page. And on the Facebook page, we'll share resources. Clients can post video of their dogs. They can ask other people. You know, I have no problem. You and I have no problem jumping in on those pages and offering advice as well. And because we like to, and we'll put up lots of resources and tips and things. So that program is $34.99 a month. And as I said, you get the videos. People get the videos forever. Once you're in, you're in. Well, I shouldn't say forever, but certainly for the year that, like, we're doing a 12-month at this point. So you've got those videos anytime throughout the 12 months. And then there's the premium level. And in the premium level, you get all the videos. But in addition, I'm going to be doing Zooms during the month, 2 live Zooms a month, so I can answer questions, I can help with training issues, and I like teaching theory and practical tips to get your dogs out in the world. I like teaching people how dogs learn, you know, so it's not a Zoom where I'm going to be watching you, you know, train your dog in, you know, place or the orientation game. It's going to be extra information, but it's the information that helps people to move that training out into the world. And in the premium level, we're going to also be offering some bonus lessons and some mini courses, because I know that I would really like to put some scent games into the program as well, retrieve. So it does have a more support and a few more bonuses than the basic level. And I think the premium level right now is $44.99 a month, $44.99 a month. So yeah, so we're excited. Scott worked a lot in the last couple of days to get it up and running. So I think it is now available, and I'm sure Scott is going to post the link, but I'll post it in the next couple of days as well. And anybody who's on our Games to Train Facebook group, if you have questions, or anybody in period, but if you have any questions about how the program is going to run, or you're not sure, you know, you're not totally clear on anything we've said today, please, go on Facebook. Games to Train group is the best group to go to for that. So, if you haven't join that group. And I'll be talking about it more in the next couple of days, and we'll be answering questions, I'm sure. So, yeah. So, Celeste, is there anything you want to add to that? This is a short live for us, but that's okay.
I know. Yeah. I'll just add, as a student and somebody who's participated in your Zooms, from both sides, I guess, the value of being able to ask questions and have that extra information is pretty huge. So I think that for somebody who has not done online classes before, that's something to keep in mind. Learning from videos is great. The videos I've seen, your videos, they're very clear, and they're broken down extremely well so that anybody can follow them. But you always encounter something here or there that is unique to your dog or your situation that you sometimes want an opinion or a voice on. And this is a perfect situation, those kind of Zooms.
Yeah, I know, I agree. And I know that certainly in the puppy program, we haven't done the online games program yet. In the puppy program, a lot of people have said that the Zooms were the favorite part of their program. I think at this point, we have no plans of going back to live puppies, because the amount of information we can provide online through Zooms, plus, the recorded videos, is far more than you and I could ever give to anybody in a live class.
Oh yeah, there's no time.
class. No, there isn't. There isn't. And it's hard for people to focus because they've got bouncing dogs. And we find that with games and puppies. They've got bouncing dogs on the end of the leash. So it's really hard to listen to anything we want to say. And you know, I like connecting with, I find it's really easy to connect with people on Zoom. I think any of us who've been teaching online through, you know, all of this COVID stuff, and all of my clients, I don't think anybody thinks about it anymore. Oh, it's online. I'm not going to learn. I'm not going to, you know, get the information. I have some pretty solid puppy classes who are out there connecting with each other online, and they form their own playgroups during COVID because we couldn't. And I think that would have been a lot more difficult for them if we didn't have online format for them, you know.
No, I agree.
Yeah, they've done well. They've done it properly. They've all been socially distanced. The numbers have been right. They're on long lines, and you know, it's because, and that's also because we could give them lots of extra information about, you know, puppy play and what it looks like, and long lines, and where to get good equipment, and you know. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I do like Zooms. I love doing Zooms online and talking to people about dogs and giving them information. So I wanted to build that into the online program for sure, you know. So yeah, so if you have any questions about online games, certainly come and see us in the Games That Train group, and I'd be you know, happy to give you any information you want there. And I guess that's it for today. I'm not sure what we're doing next for our Facebook Live, but we will try and get back on track with our regular Thursdays, and hopefully we'll be back next week with something. So, you know, even any of you who are watching, if you have anything you'd like us to do a Facebook Live on, that we can take a look at it and see if we think we have the knowledge to do that, and we'd be happy to put one out for you. So hopefully we'll see everybody next week. So thanks, Celeste, and thank you, everybody who showed up, and everybody stay safe. We've got a few more weeks to go, and then we'll have a little bit of freedom, which will be nice. So everybody have a good day. Take care.
Bye.